Welcome. My name is Nick Craig, and this is the Leading from Purpose podcast. My guest today is Harry Hutson. I've known Harry for over probably 25 years, when both of us had a lot more hair than we do today. Harry is probably one of the world's experts in the experience and challenges of how do you lead in crisis. He's worked in a range of companies over the last 25 years, from jet engine manufacturers to oil and gas to world-class leadership development organizations. So he's seen the whole spectrum of what it means to be effective at leading in challenging times. What we want to do today is have a conversation with Harry on two topics. One is his journey around purpose and its impact. But the second is his area of expertise in leading from crisis. He is actually the author of a fabulous book, which I have right here in front of me, called Navigating Organizational Crisis. And it is a fabulous book and a read, especially in the moments that we're sitting in now with the coronavirus and all the things that come along with it. So Harry, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Nick. Good to see you.
Super. So Harry, let's start with you and let's start with your purpose. So would you be willing to share with us with what your purpose is?
I'd be happy to, because it's a kind of purpose statement you want to share, because it's simple, it fits me, and it applies to how I how I live in the world, how I work in the world. And my purpose is this: my purpose is to help people get out of their own way. It has deep meaning for me, and I can tell stories around it, and it has deep implication for me in terms of how I live and what I do and where I go from here. I'm happy to fill in the blanks.
Yeah, so Harry, where do those words come from for you? Because, you know, each of us has a unique purpose, and for most of us, it comes out of our journey in life. And so where do those words come from for you?
Well, they popped out, Nick, and I would say under your mentorship, under your guidance, and one of your many workshops. I mean, that's where it came from. I mean, I wasn't walking around saying I've got to get myself a pithy purpose statement today. I wasn't doing that. But the nice thing about this purpose stuff is that when you land it, it's right there. It's been waiting for me.
So how does that fit for you? Because, you know, many people have very different purposes, and yours is unique to you. So how does that purpose statement make sense for you?
Well, first of all, I bet there are at least 50,000 people who have the same purpose statement, but it doesn't matter, because mine is mine and it has my meaning. So it's not a race toward try to be unique. It's to dig deep and to say, well, really, what works best. And I would say when I dig deepest, my mom, who died 2 years ago, had told me many times in my adult life that when I was growing up, she thought I could do anything. She just believed in me that much that I could do anything. Well, when it turns out I couldn't do anything, and in fact I stumbled a little along the way, I said, well, where is that? You know, what is that all about? And I had to say, well, I'm somehow stuck, or I'm in my own way, or, you know, I've got something I got to deal with. So it wasn't her fault. In fact, she set me up for success. It was me. How do I take this vision she has for me and really make the most of it? So I've always felt obligated. I've always felt I've had unbelievable gifts and luck and good fortune and all the rest of it. And now what do I do with it? And if I can't do something with it, then I got to find out why I'm blocked. So I have to get out of my own way. Then I have a story about, remember, in junior high school, I was being a goofball. I was always the cut up in class, and the door was open, and one of a teacher who knew me very well had walked down the hall. He saw me acting like a jerk. He walked into the classroom. It wasn't even his classroom, pulled me out in the hall, and he said, I see you smiling like a Cheshire cat. You've got to get on top of that, and you've got to be who you need to be. And I've always lived with that. I thought I was being a horse's ass. And I enjoyed the attention of hee-haw of my classmates, but I was being a jerk. he rang my bell. And so those
Okay.
two things I put together, and I, you know, the many other moments when I noticed I was acting foolishly or being inadequate or whatever I was doing, tripping over my own shoelaces. So it works. So it works for me because now I have this great empathy for people who are stuck or can't, you know, they can't see the light. You know, they've got a blind spot as big as a, you know, as big as a, I don't know what. And to help them see that, help them reframe whatever it is that they're facing, help them get on with things, free them up is the greatest joy in the world. And so, you know, where that leads me is to the job and the career and the work I've done in this world.
So if you think about that purpose that's yours, do you have a particular moment where you really felt like it truly showed up and had an impact on you and others where you like, oh, wow, that's really what purpose
It's
could
pretty
be as far as
personal.
an
I would
impact?
say a couple of things. I've got two children, a daughter and a son, and they're wonderful and terrific, and they've been fully launched. And so this is not really a tale out of school. But like many parents, we experienced some difficulty during their teenage years and different trouble with each one. I won't name which one did what, but one of them completely stopped working in college and basically was thrown out. The other one was under medication for attention deficit or something or other, and he took himself off the medicine because he thought it made him feel weird, and he ended up in a hospital. And I can just remember the pain and the awful moments that those situations caused me to experience. And so the interpretation I have is I've got to help them get out of their own way. And if you don't, look what happens. Young people, all the promise in the world can derail. And you don't want that. You don't want that with your kids. You don't want that with any kids. So that's one, you know, very concrete and visceral kind of period or moments in my life. And again, it reinforces, how do you help them on track? How do you get them going? How do you get them out of their own way? And it's doubly hard when you're a parent. But I can think of another example kind of recently. I think you know this, Nick. I'm a patient. I'm in treatment for cancer. And so am I supposed to moan and groan about that? I feel sorry for myself and feel pity. So what is that about? If my purpose really is applicable here, I've got to help others to help me get out of my own way so I can help others.
God.
And that's what you do. You don't say, well, oh gosh, that's terrible. I am so much an open book now on that topic. And I have so many friends who have, you know, similar medical issues going on. And we just talk at levels and we relate to one another in ways that we never could ever before. And had I not gone through my own situation and thought about, well, my job is to get out of my own way and be there for others. And this is the theme I'll play back to you in a minute. We talk about the book, and it's so much about how do you help yourself by helping other people.
Well, it's interesting because I think in some ways, what I really enjoy about what you've just given us is two examples that are not work related, because most people go right to the worky side, think about the impact of purpose. And the truth is, purpose impacts all parts of our life. And as we bring it to all those parts, it has a positive impact. Now, in some ways, helping people get out of their own way, see how that would be very applicable to being in the OD space, organizational development space.
Well, yes, and also just and in work. Here's how I interpret it. When you're, as you know, when you're independent person, you're self-employed. You've got your own, you know, you've got your own business to manage. And what I've learned is I'm in my own way when I'm attaching my ego to my bottom line and thinking I have to, you know, I have these goals to hit and all this sort of stuff. And I end up in situations where I'm not really the best person to do the work, or I'm doing work that is completely draining. And to unhook from that, getting in my own way there is being too identified with some external measure. And I've noticed that when I don't do that, I'm much more helpful as an OD person and as a coach. I'm more direct. I speak the truth. I'm not fearful. And the good work or the work I should be doing is there, and the work that I shouldn't be doing goes away. And it's a much better way to live.
It's a much better way to live. Now, you also had a number of corporate roles. And if you think of those corporate roles, do you see a particular situation where you feel like purpose really showed up and had an impact on how you were able to play it when you were on the inside?
Well, right. I can remember in one of my assignments, we were, safety is always a big issue, number one issue in corporate life, always has been and needs to be. And I can remember a big rollout in a big corporation of a safety program. And something inside of me said, we're not getting there because I think our leaders are mouthing the words and we're not going to get there this way. We turn the keys over to some outside group who's training everybody and all these kinds of things, and it's not going to work. And so I raised my hand. I'm a pest, actually. And to the point where I look back upon it and said, I could have gotten fired. Well, I didn't. But I do think that I made an impact, and I do think leaders said, hey, this is about us. This isn't about some, again, training. And we got to grab this thing and live it ourselves. And if we're going to ask about safety in meetings every time we have a meeting, then we got to believe that it makes a difference and not read some script. So that's an example, right? I got out of my own way. I don't really like conflict. I don't really like becoming a jerk. I've done that before, but I knew I had to stand up and do something, or the safety program was going to be suboptimal, and maybe someone could get hurt as a result of something missed. So that's an example. I can think of others when I was in the compensation role where I had to stand up. Often I want to. My perspective is, organizations underpay people at high levels, especially women. And I'm often saying, no, you're using the wrong standard when you think about this should be the pay level, when they're looking around at where they are today and how much more money that would be and how happy they would be as they got this big raise. I'm saying that isn't the question. The question is, how do you compare jobs and people and what you do that's fair and right? And the whole idea of equity, I think, is a very big one in corporations, and it's one that's not often addressed. And again, one has to stand up if you're in an HR role, and not sit down until you're, and some days until you won the day.
That's great. So in some ways, that's really how you live your purpose, is taking on those challenging topics that are not politically easy, but really matter.
No, they're not.